Welcome all to session 33 of my Pillars of Eternity Lorethrough. We are currently in Stormwall
My
Gorge,
patience is burning low.
just for the purpose of exploring, but I also think Sagani's test is here, or Sagani's quest is here, and we found this ancient ruin here that we can't get into yet. It's flooded over. So yeah, be on the lookout for something to fill in. There is a slot in this little panel right here that we probably need to put something in there. But let's continue exploring Stormwall Gorge. By the way, this is still being recorded on June 22nd, 2023. Haravias. Oh, this is a companion, I think. Haravias. Maybe he'll say his name so I can learn how to pronounce it. Chewing on a piece of uncooked meat, a small Orlan dressed in tattered leathers offers a mumbled greeting and waves his hand. Despite his pleasant smile, the upper right portion of his face is in a sorry state. An eye patch stitched with a stylized eyeball wraps around his head, and his ear is a mangled remnant that twitches and spasms while the other ears perk up at your approach. The other ear perks up at your approach. Next to him is the splayed carcass of a deer that appears ripped open by a bear or wolf. You hear a gurgling rumble next to you. Sagani places her hand on her stomach, her eyes on the carcass. Still fresh? Itamuk's pink tongue lolls out of his mouth.
If this is your deer, you need a new game warden. Name's Haravias. Hungry? I can't eat all this. First catch of the day, help yourself.
Haravias, so that's how to pronounce it. When he smiles, bits of sinew and tendon dangle from his bloody lips. This guy's in rough shape. What killed that deer?
One ornery Stelgar. Though looking at the deer's insides, it had a malformed but delicious heart, and would have been dead within the year regardless.
Delicious heart.
Gallowayne chose a fitting end for this fine animal.
He bows his head.
Pardon me. I shouldn't pray with my mouth full.
He bows his head to the deer, starts to breathlessly chant, but then stops abruptly. What brings you here?
Other than the delicious venison, new trees to document, new animals to sketch, new sights to be seen. I've learned as much as I can from the druids of my circle. I'd rather wander and learn than take root and stagnate. So if you're traveling to Deerwood and need another set of hands, I'd welcome the safety of a group.
Druid's assistance would be welcome. He very easily joined us.
I'm trained by the celebrants of Hawk and Ivy of the Fisher Crane tribe. I know more than my share of nature magic, and, well, I don't shy away from a good fight. I have business with the druids that live near Twin Elms. So long as we find ourselves there eventually, I'm happy to follow along.
You're welcome to join us.
Splendid! It'll be an honor to run with a pack for a change.
Oh, I didn't get to ask him about Gallowayne. Okay, I'm not going to take him on right now. I'm not a huge fan of Haravias. But because we recruited our first Orlan, it is time to read about Orlans. So this is from the guidebook on Orlans. Orlans are relatively short, 50% to 60% of human height, humanoids. Physically, they are notable for their small stature, hair-covered bodies, two-toned skin, and exceptionally large hair-covered ears. They are also by nature nocturnal, though most Orlans living among other races adapt to a diurnal schedule. Due to their size, Orlans have been victimized and marginalized by most of the cultures with whom they have come into contact. As a result, it is rare to find large communities of them, and they have progressively retreated into heavily wooded environments over the last few centuries. Many Orlan communities have also adopted brutal guerrilla tactics, including heavy use of traps and poison in the surrounding environment. As a result, even Orlans raised in urban cultures often share their rural kin's nasty reputation. The natural lifespan of an Orlan is typically between 50 and 80 years old. So, we have more to read about Orlans here, but I want to point this out. Orlans, because they are so small, have typically been marginalized and victimized throughout their existence. And because of that, they kind of retreated to the woods, and when they need to fight, they have resorted to guerrilla tactics. And then, because of that, they have a nasty reputation, it says. So basically, they were forced into living this way by the way that people treated them, and then they were blamed for living that way by those same people that were treating them poorly. This is historically, even in our world, how marginalized communities are treated. They are marginalized, they are victimized, and when they are forced to do things that are not considered status quo, they are criticized for it, even though they were kind of almost forced into doing those things. Not in all cases, but that is a very common way that dominant societies treat marginalized societies. And it's reflected here in the Orlan race. So interesting, but also I think just the way that we look at these Orlans can really do a good job of shining light on our own world, like many of the things in this game, actually. Okay, moving on. So the first type of Orlans are Hearth Orlans. So called for their relatively sedentary nature, Hearth Orlans originated from the same place as their wild kin, the forested parts of the continent to the north of Red Saris. While the wild Orlans have stayed deep in the forests and jungles of the continent, Hearth Orlans progressively moved closer to lands settled by other races and established semi-permanent communities. The differences are not just cultural. Hearth Orlans are dramatically less hirsute than the wild Orlans and generally more accepted by other races because of it. Hearth Orlans are often found as slaves in Raid Saris and the Valian Republics, and occasionally in Edir. So yeah, not only are they victimized, they are also enslaved. One of the treaty terms between Dyrwood and the Orlans and elves of Erglonfoth was the liberation of Orlan's slaves. This has been honored, but many Hearth Orlans who continue to live in Dyrwood are indentured servants, slaves in most practical ways. While wild Orlans are feared for their tenacity and explosive violence, Hearth Orlans are feared for their ability to conceal hostility. The Hearth and Wild appellations were adopted by other races for the purposes of discussing them and encompassing their role in society, but are often considered derogatory among Orlans. So these terms that we're using to refer to Orlan's Hearth and Wild are almost like slurs. Wow. Okay. Features: enormous, fur-lined on the back ears, small or narrow, often upturned noses, round or heart-shaped faces, narrow or almond eyes, deep-set eyes, and very prominent brows. Skin: two-toned, often light tan and darker tan or brown. The tone division generally follows a line around the body and is more or less symmetrical outside of the edge between the two. Orlan's skin often has a green or yellowish undertone to it. Orlan's skin that appears to be bare always has a surprisingly thick coat of transparent hair on it. Hair: strawberry blonde, red, orange, blue, green, 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 brown, brown, black. Coarse and thick, wavy or curly texture. It covers about 50% of their body and can go through a variety of gradations. Eyes: large irises with cat-slit pupils, almond, round, or upturned eyes, blue, green, gold, yellow, silver, violet, or hazel. And then we have the wild Orlans. Again, that term wild is derogatory. Wild Orlans are only rarely found in established communities. They are the original Orlans, who continue to live in the deepest forests and jungles between the tropics. Wild Orlans have only been significantly separated from Hearth Orlans for 1,000 years, but due to the short life cycles of Orlans, the few genetic differences between them have appeared rapidly. The most obvious difference between Hearth and Wild Orlans is that the latter are almost entirely covered with hair or fur, depending on how you look at it. The face and neck of a wild Orlan are covered with hair as thick as any other part of their body. This, and their culture's general xenophobia, has caused other races to classify them as wild. So that word xenophobia here to describe wild Orlans, it's easy to see why they would feel that way. When they do go somewhere, they are often ostracized. So it would be easy to see why they would be mistrusting of other places. Wild Orlans are common in the deep reaches of Erglonfoth alongside many Skelterfolk. They are also less commonly encountered in Dyrwood or enslaved in Raid Saris and other lands, in turn often traded by Valians. Most people consider wild Orlans to be poor slaves due to the lack of language skills and their extremely violent nature. Their features are enormous, fur-lined all-over ears, small or narrow, often upturned noses, round or heart-shaped faces, narrow or almond eyes, deep-set eyes, and very prominent brows. brows, I'm sorry. Their skin is two-toned. Colors often vary widely, with the darkest tones being dark chocolate brown. The tone division generally follows a line around the body and is more or less symmetrical outside of the edge between the two. Orlan skin often has a green or yellowish undertone to it. Wild Orlans have very little visible skin, but even bare skin has a surprisingly thick coat of transparent hair on it. Their hair is yellow, yellow-green, red, orange, blue, green, green, green-brown, brown-black, coarse and thick, straight and wavy texture. Covers about 90% of the body and can go through a variety of gradations. Eyes, large irises with cat-slip pupils, almond, round, or upturned eyes, blue, green, gold, yellow, silver, violet, or hazel. So I believe that that takes us through all of the races of the world of Eora. We have the human or the folk, we have the elves, we have the Almawa, we have the dwarves, we have the Orlan, and we have the godlike. And the Orlans seem to be a traditionally marginalized race. They are enslaved. They are not treated seriously, and because they have had to resort to some brutal tactics in order to survive, they are often blamed as being wild. Wonder if I can see party members. No. I can't see party members that I don't have with me right now. I am now a hero in Defiance Bay. Okay, let's keep exploring Stormwall Gorge. I think that's it, I guess. Let me look for Sogani's quest right here because I thought that this is where I had to go. Travel to the cliffs you saw in the vision. When I examined the bear statuette, I felt as though I was standing atop cliffs overlooking the water. So maybe it's like over here. So we still only have Deerford Village. Cliffs overlooking the water. Well, let's go to Deerford. I'm wondering if maybe that's Manmere Bridge. No, we'll go there first. Okay, forum construction completed. A wanted criminal by the name of Nairi the Deft Hand has arrived at the stronghold again. This guy was just here. Just gonna pay him off this time. South Curtain Wall, West Curtain Wall, Curio Shop, or Artificer's Hall. Let's up our security here with the curtain walls. Alright, so this is another cliff that overlooks the water, so let's check along here. Who are these people? Huh. These are all gold-plated NPCs. Where is Barsock? I guess we can check here too. And then if he's not way over on this side, then I have no idea. Just head to Deerford. Maybe there's another place beyond Deerford. Okay. Guess that's what we're gonna do. Actually, let's go to Copper Lane, to the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. I'll tell, what's her name? Grimda, what happened with the scroll. See how she feels about that.
Gods keep you.
Found the scroll, but Wall asked me to hide it again. She gives you a long, stern look. Call anyone else a liar with a story like that, but coming from you, she squints behind her thick spectacles. There is a certain logic after all, and if you've served Wall, then you've served me too. She presents you with a folded section of fabric. Wall is both a keeper and a discoverer of secrets. May this hood aid you in revealing what is obscured and keep you hidden from those who wish you harm. Footpad's hood added to inventory. You find a key in your palm. You're also free to visit the Elder Archives and take whatever books or scrolls you find in the open. Spreading and circulating new mysteries is part of our service to the obscured. What else do you need? I'm not going to say anything about the theorems of Pengram. Well, actually, let's see what she says. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be sure to tuck that tome away from prying eyes and see that Nedden never sets foot here again. In the meantime, here, token of our appreciation. Whoops. Can I still find it? Oh. I mean, I guess I have a new quest. Signed pal. Oh, wait. A series of murders has shocked and terrorized the scribes of White Rock Isle. Sequestered in their island monastery in the boot of Andra, they have had little success reaching to the mainland for help. Though renowned for their integrity and artistic talents, the scribes may be unknowingly harboring someone who's attempting to sabotage their work on forbidden books. Give that one to Palagina. I mean, the theorems of Pengram were definitely, there were some iffy things that were going on in there, but I didn't mean to bar them completely. Queen that was and still is, Animancy in the Modern Age. Have we read those? We've read both of those. The Life and Discoveries of Pangram. Mention the name Pangram to anyone without even passing knowledge of animancy, and you could find yourself in a very long discussion. Publicly reviled, but privately lauded as a hero and genius, Pangram's history is at turns revolutionary, horrific, and mysterious. Pangram was fascinated, some might say obsessed, with this concept of animancy. It consumed his life as he dedicated everyone to understand it. He would frequently travel to Erglanfath in the Deerwood to visit the Engwithan ruins. There, he would take notes and make sketches, bringing anything back with him that could help him unlock the mysteries. After years of study, Pangram had reached the point where he could no longer conduct research on his own, and he took an assistant, Helig of Thane. Soon, Helig was making trips to Erglanfath in Pangram's stead, gathering knowledge while Pangram stayed behind to experiment. This partnership quickly bore fruit, and Pangram made a breakthrough, one that would irrevocably change his life and the general attitude about animancy forever. While the specifics of his experimentation will never truly be known, the rumors and stories that still circulate tell that he had sent out inquiries asking for live subjects for help with a dangerous experiment that might change their life, or might end it. Those who were already dying were especially encouraged to apply. Response was overwhelming, and Pangram had his pick of numerous willing bodies. That is when he had his breakthrough. He discovered a way to fix a soul, anchoring it to its body so it couldn't leave at death. Fix a soul. So is he the one that's responsible for undead? He had discovered eternal life. His research and life's works had resulted in the greatest single discovery that animancy could hope for. His findings were published and quickly spread through Valia and beyond. While some groups, the Wiccan Church for example, decried his work as nothing more than blasphemy and heresy, many put it into practice. Everyone wanted a chance at immortality. But everything comes with a cost. It quickly became apparent that simply restraining the soul while keeping the person technically alive was doing nothing for the body, which continued to decay, devolving and warping the soul now trapped inside it. The creatures it created were dangerous, carnivorous beasts that killed brutally and indiscriminately. The backlash was ruthless. The practice of Pangram's discoveries was outlawed. His works were collected and burned. He and Helig were branded heretics and hunted, chased from town to town until Pangram simply vanished. Helig was tracked down, captured, and brought to trial for the atrocities committed against Valia and its people. The trial was barely more than a formality to bring charges against him, as everyone knew what hand he had played in the disaster. He was sent to prison for years, but eventually released once public outrage died down. Not long after his parole, he disappeared as well. Occasionally, talk surfaces that a copy of Pangram's theorems has been found, untouched by the purging flames that destroyed its brothers. These rumors seldom end up being more than that. Many groups and wealthy individuals have formed sending out a call to anyone who will listen. Find us a copy of the theorems. They offer gold, jewels, status, anything that can entice adventurers to help them achieve their goals. For there are those who would give anything at a chance at immortality, even become a monster. I'm still going to say that was probably a good thing that we kept that book from, forget his name, but yeah, glad that we didn't give it to him. Okay. And that was everything that I wanted to come to Defiance Bay for. While we're here, let's go to the First Fires and talk to the Crucible Knights. I wonder if there's anybody we can talk to hire people to help us in the battle against Gathben. Let's see what he has to say. Nope. Let's talk to Dunstan. Nope. Actually, let's talk to him and sell a bunch of stuff. Okay. And this guy should like us. It's always nice to see you. He doesn't give us anything else besides that. Let's talk to Wael. Oh, what's Seda doing here? Your guards were charmed by the spirit of a woman named Lyra. I've gotten rid of her. Her tired eyes grow round. By the flame, you found her, my missing commander. She heaves a sigh and loses her gaze among the floor tiles. And she was calling to the watch from beyond the grave? It doesn't make sense, but nothing in that accursed district does. What happened to the soldiers under her spell? They didn't make it. I see. Nevertheless, thank you for your help. You've left me with as many questions as answers, but at least I know what happened to my troops, and Commander Lyra. Please, accept this token of my gratitude. got some experience and 1,000 copper. That was the Spectre that we fought in Heritage Hill, who had the Justiciars in thrall. Seda looks like she's had a bath and a few square meals. She smiles shyly. Oh, at least she's doing well. I mean, I know she lost her family, but beyond that part. Alright, last person we can talk to here. Oh well. I was hoping we could, like, ask him for help with our battle. I wonder if that comes later. This door isn't open. Let's open this door. Okay, I have been here before though, so. Alright, how are we doing for quests? Still gotta tell Lady Webb, but we're up to date on that. Through Death's Gate, that is the Deerford Village main quest. We have the Siege of Crackholt, which is the DLC. The Wailing Banshee. Oh, the lighthouse. When should maybe we'll try that again. Battle of Yenwood Field. I want to go talk to Marshal Forwind, find out how we fare there. This is Palagina's quest. This is... Oh. We need to look for the Rising Waterfall. This is Sagani's quest. This is the Endless Paths of Cadnua below our keep. This is... Kana's quest also is down there. This is Durance, and this is Adair. So, and our tasks are all the bounties. So we're doing pretty good. Let's
life of a traveler. So many ruins to...
Let's go to Andra's Gift.
Indeed.
And check out the lighthouse, see if we can stop that.
It is
And
true.
then
You have been at it far longer than I. Where will you
we'll
go
be all
next,
caught up
when you
with
have
what we
all
can
the
do now,
world to
except
choose
for
Home, of course.
Palagina.
all these circling feet heading nowhere.
Lighthouse is over here. Still hearings and animancy proceed to the Ducal Palace. I think that's something that we'll be able to weigh in on at some point. I wonder if hiding the theorems of Pengram is going to stop us from doing that. Alright, let's go. Hopefully kill some spirits and phantoms, shadows.
I shall be discreet.
Durance goes, he goes fast.
I fear we've lost the angry one. Try and make them.
That's right.
I gotta say, I am surprised at how difficult these fights are. These specters are rough. Durance is tough. I want him close because of his spells that are AoEs. But when he gets close and starts attacking with his quarterstaff, then people start attacking him.
Hello? Hello?
Yellow fading maps of the bay around Andra's Gift show routes through the locks between the dikes in the... And that hold the ocean back. Compounds and fluids in these bottles have separated into distinct layers. Some rice. Okay, so we have a lighthouse tower key. Years of exposure to the wet, salty air has made this dull and rough. We have the evacuation notice. The notice is stiff with age and salt. Adairan reinforcements advancing. Immediate evacuation of Andra's gift by order of Duke Hadrit. So that is a note for the end of the War of Defiance. When Andra's gift was flooded. And we will need to get into that at some point because it's a very interesting thing that happened there. And then we have the selected correspondences of Giftbringer Aiden. We have read that already. That is some lore on Andra there. Carved into the post of the name Merwith in a series of notches labeled with numbers. The lowest notch reads 4, and the highest notch reads 17. So some kid named Merwith who grew up here, maybe? Unlock with lighthouse tower key. Okay, keep moving up. Lilith. Alright, let's take a look since it's been a while here. The Wailing Banshee. Naya's trying to renovate the old lighthouse in Andra's gift, but rumors of its haunting have driven away her laborers. She'd like someone to take a look around the place to prove that it's safe for her to work to begin. And it even says this must be the creature that's been haunting the lighthouse for over a century. That must be Lilith. Deal. The Chinguila. I'll have to look that up. Seems the same as the woman who enthralled the Justiciar Knights in Heritage Hill. Looks the same. Shrieking sobs pierce your ears and rattle the musty rafters of the lighthouse. They emanate from the spectral figure of a woman hovering in the middle of the room. Each heave of her shoulders unleashes another hair-raising wail. So this is the Banshee here. Gonna get closer. As you approach, the spirit's cries take on a threatening edge. The swirling mist around her legs ripples with movement. The black pits of its eyes level momentarily with yours. Get closer. So before, my perception had to be 18. Now it's 15. So I feel like if we get too close, then she might attack us. But if we get a little bit closer, then maybe the perception threshold will be good. Okay. The spirit's screaming grows louder and louder. Its sunken face distorts, twisting into a long, gaping mouth filled with jagged teeth. If anything were able to quell the spirit's rage, it would appear not to be you. So now we only have perception 12, so I'm going to observe it. You're close enough to notice that the spirit's head is tilted back, even as it loses blood-curdling howls. The faint movements of its head suggest that it's looking toward the windows and scanning the horizon. The Chinguila's ghostly hands are stained with something dark. At first, you think it's blood, but it's as black as ink. Okay. When I got close enough for a good look, I noticed that the spirit seemed to be watching the horizon for something. Its hands were stained with something dark, blood or ink perhaps. Maybe I'll find something nearby that can help me. I'm sorry if you just heard that. So Chinguila. Chinguila are violent and confused spirits that have been unable or unwilling to move beyond the shroud. More specifically, these are the spirits of women who die under particularly tragic or traumatic circumstances, hence the name Chinguila, which translates to Blood Mother. The popular image of the Chinguila as the spirit of a jilted lover has changed in recent years, as the effects of Weidman's legacy have become more widely known. With so many Hollowborn arising and a similarly steep rise in Chinguila sightings, many assume these spirits are linked to mothers who have died in childbirth. In reality, the Chinguila manifests just as readily from the spirits of women who perished in violent crimes or accidents, or those who have led particularly violent lives. Okay, so very Banshee-esque there. Also, we saw Mare with the markings of 4 to 17, so was that a child of this person here, this Lilith? Logbook. The logbook expels a thick plume of dust. 6 Phonoton, 2672. Foggy, port full, 158 days since sighting the Red Dream. 12 Phonoton, 2672. Heavy rain, 2 fishing boats lost at sea. 164 days since sighting the Red Dream. 1 Taraton, 2672. Dark clouds, Adiran ships on the horizon. 173 days since sighting the Red Dream. Adiran ships on the horizon seems to suggest that this was during the war when the Adirans came and attacked Defiance Bay. The last lighthouse keeper kept a log seemingly into the final days of the War of Defiance. This person was also tracking the appearance of a ship called the Red Dream. Naya might know more about it.
I can do that. That's settled.
Ooh, Jack of Wide Waters. Kakuma was a famed Aumaua swashbuckler and the original wearer of this garment. She sailed from her homeland of Rawatai to the infamous Deadfire Archipelago. There, she escorted merchant and passenger ships through pirate-infested waters. Among her most frequent clients was the Nasataki dwarves, who ventured to the continents to the north on both personal and tribal sojourns. Her fair dealings, bravery in combat, and skill at sea made Kakuma a loved and respected figure in the archipelago among the Nasataki. I think I want to give this one to Beater. Ah. So I believe it's got the same damage reduction, although it's exceptional. So that could be why. But for now, I think that's a good idea. Looks pretty spiffy too. I don't want to get too close to the Banshee. Chinguila. St. Wideman Farmer becomes God and Copper Palms. Okay. So let's head down to Naya and see if she knows anything about this. This Red Dream ship.
Well met, friend.
Have you heard of the Red Dream? Who hasn't? That ship's been running raids for decades now. Used to stop in New Hamar laden with spoils from Rawatai traders. These days, I hear she spends most of her time prowling the Deadfire Archipelago. Naya points a ship anchored in the distance. That's her. When she's at port, her captain, an elf named Merwith, takes her shore leave over the Charred Barrel and Brackenberry. Believe it or not, she likes her creature comforts. She shakes her head. That's what I'm talking about. When a pirate won't even set foot in the tavern on this side of town, it's high time for a new establishment. I'll talk to you later. Okay, so Merwith is alive. Naya told me that the Red Dream is a pirate ship captained by an elf named Merwith. She's known to frequent the Charred Barrel and Brackenberry when she's in town, which apparently is now. So, it is time to go to Brackenberry to check that out. This seems closer. So Merwith was the name that was on the marks in the wall there. That said, went from 4 to 17, like measuring her height. So there's some relation there, probably to Lilith. Maybe that's Lilith's child. We'll see what Merwith says. Some pirates upstairs. Maybe that was them. There we are. If I wanted company, I'd go to the Salty Mast. Merowith's gold tooth catches the candlelight. What is it this time? Someone at the old lighthouse in Andra's Gift was looking for your ship. I didn't peg you for a liar. At least not from what I've heard. She looks you over, narrowing her eyes. But that don't mean I believe you. She leans in, her voice a low hiss. You'd better explain what gave you such an interesting notion. The last lighthouse keeper watched for your ship every day. It's all in the log. No. Her snarls flashes a gold tooth. She turned me out. We were poorer than the fishermen who live there now, and when she learned I'd put food on our table with stolen coin, she told me that if she never saw me again, it'd be the mercy of the gods. Her darkened eyes are filled with rage. I had nowhere else to go, and it was a rough life until I rose to captain. So she was kicked out by her mother, it seems. She ignored the Adiran. Alright, so let's say she ignored the Adiran advance to stay behind. I think she was waiting for you. She turns her eyes away. She was always so stubborn. Forget sometimes where I got it. She gulps down the rest of her wine. I'll go. Perhaps it will give us both some peace. The Banshee shouldn't be a problem any longer. Wow. Naya's and Andra's Gift waiting for the good news. Okay. I wonder if we can find Merowith up there then. I don't think I realized when I was playing this game before that it's really cool that you can kind of almost check in on NPCs that you helped. Like, I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention to names, but here we see Cyril. We saw Ingrid and Nanton over at the charred barrel over there. We saw, I always forget the little girl's name from Heritage Hill at the Knights of the Crucible. I think that's really interesting. Let's first talk to Naya.
Welcome.
You'll never guess what happened, Naya points to the lighthouse. I was keeping an eye out for you. And who strolls down the dock? Merowith herself. You should have seen the stare she got. But she walks right into the lighthouse, never a word to anyone. And just when I'm sure she's met some awful fate in there, she strolls right out, still saying nothing to nobody. Now I'm hearing all sorts of rumors about Merowith and the last lighthouse keeper. She shakes her head. I don't know what to believe, but everyone else around here is convinced that place is safe again. I've even got a construction crew ready to start work. We got 1,000 copper, lost the evacuation notice in the logbook, and we got some experience. She takes a deep breath, big, contented smile on her face. And I know I've got you to thank. Here, this is for you. Come back when the renovations are done. I've got big plans for this place. So I'll have to remember to come back there. Okay, so Pallegina finished her quest. After failing to prevent 2 additional deaths, Pallegina and the monks were able to track down the murderer, a secretive scribe of the order that the other monks believe had died years ago. In reality, the scribe had been hiding in the catacombs beneath the monastery and progressively destroying heretical works that he believed spread lies about the origins of the gods. When the monks started to catch on, he killed anyone who raised suspicion. Rather than face punishment, the scribe leapt from the highest tower of the monastery to his death. In the scribe's subterranean laboratory, Pallegina discovered several suspicious vials of thick brown liquid. The monastery's herbalist identified it as a potent poison, the same that had been likely used to kill the monks. Oh, we got blind monk's venom, which is a poison. A virulent poison, when applied to a weapon, inflicts raw damage over time. I don't think I've ever really used poisons in this game before. Is something still being built? Yes. Let's just see what's in here right now. Oh, wow, that was quick. How'd you like what I've done with the place? She dusts her hands in her clothing. The rooms are still under construction, but I can get you food and drink if you like. Let's see what you got. Okay. So she's got her in... Those lost in the flood. Oh, I've read this before. And there's Lilith, the lighthouse keeper, down at the bottom here. Okay, so they're still working up here. Yeah, and up here too. I wonder if they're going to fix this. Yep, that one. And didn't examine this before because I thought maybe it was too close to, what's her name? Lilith's shawl, aura of stealth. This cloak feels so light that it's easy to forget you're wearing it. The unmistakable sense of the sea breeze, cool and salty, wafts from the fabric. Though moth-eaten and ragged around the edges, it keeps the chill at bay. Its faded colors seem to blend in with its surroundings. You found this in the lighthouse of Andra's gift. The tower had been uninhabited for a century and a half, and its last occupant, the lighthouse keeper, supposedly died there when the Adirans invaded. It was rumored that her spirit haunted the tower still, watching for ships on the horizon. Nothing we didn't really know about Lilith already. Alright, she said that Merylith's ship was here, so I wonder if she's somewhere down here?
I can do that. That's settled.
This isn't stealing, is it? It's not. Oh, take them.
Good day to you.
You're a sailor? Yes, sir. I signed about half a year back. The pay's decent, in sight of the sun coming up over the sea. I wouldn't give that up for anything, he says. I just wish I'd asked around about the captain first.
Good day to you.
I don't know who the captain... I don't think the name was Merylith, because that's the person that we found the chest for. And I know that he said some things about how tough the captain was, which would make sense if it was a pirate, but I don't think that was Merylith. Yeah. So go this way too. I don't know if Merylith is still here even. If she went back to the bar, I can check for her there. If she's maybe by these ships. Nope. So we'll head back now to the charred barrel, see if we can find her there, and if not, then we'll move on. I do kind of like a little mystery about here. We don't know exactly what Merylith said to Lilith, but I think that means that it was private, and that's nice. Nope, no Merwith. The captain takes a sure leave with the rest of us. Okay. One thing I also wanted to check. Everybody keeps calling us honest. All we have is an honesty rating of 2. Okay. And the last thing I want to do with this session is return to Cadnua, talk to the Marshal, and check out Bright Hollow, which should be finished now.
I must say, I'm impressed.
Thank you, Ella. So let's take a look at the map now. So yes, the chapel is finished. I don't think we've been there. The forum is finished. Craft hall that has been finished, and the warden's lodge. So these are the things that need to be finished here, and I believe this botany, this garden over here. Maybe this fountain too, I'm not sure. Alright, Marshal. Let's talk about my army. What's the status of my regular troops? It's as good as it can be given the circumstances. With your willingness to spend coin, we should attract some veteran warriors as well. They'll be useful for their experience and will help with morale if the situation becomes dire. What special allies do I have available? The Knights of the Crucible will reinforce your infantry. Okay, so I guess I didn't have to talk to the Knights of the Crucible. I guess they're just there. Okay, nice. That's all for now. I wonder if I'm ready.
Last thing the Deerwood needs is another foreign colony.
This trapdoor has been battered by the elements. Tugging on the rusted handle only produces a heavy rattling, even after the chapel is completed. So this is the new chapel. May the gods guide and protect all those who seek their blessing. Here's our priest.
Greetings.
Greetings, my lord. I thank you for restoring our chapel to its former glory. I am certain the gods look favorably upon you. I have gathered what scrolls I could find. Perhaps they could be of use to you in your travels. Okay, so now we can buy some scrolls from him too. Notably, the chapel.
The Deerwood needs.
Notably, the chapel is not dedicated to any specific god. Just said the gods look favorably upon you. Nothing of note at the forum, even though it's completed. This is the garden, which I think we can do. Just want to check. Is there? Okay, so it's still being constructed. How much longer? Just 13 hours, so that should be quick. Okay, the fountain is complete. Okay, looking good.
You really don't see enough fountains in deer wooden architecture.
So here's the hearth. Rich, savory stew bubbles over at the hearth. I forget what they called this over here. The new shelves smell rich with freshly cut timber. Some kind of study or something. And here's the fountain. Looking nice. Okay. Let's take a rest and end this session. Do might again. All right, so that will do it for session 33. Thank you for joining me. We finished up a lot of quests today, and the most interesting, I think, was the lighthouse quest that Merwith was able to meet with her mother, who, as a Chianguela, was just kind of waiting for her as an undead spirit. And rather than fighting the Chianguela, we were able to subdue her calmly, which means now Naya can set up her inn at the lighthouse. So we're definitely going to have to remember to go check that out at some point. Yeah, so as always, thank you so much for joining me here. Let me know what you think, any questions you have. anything I got wrong, those kinds of things. And we will see you again in session 34. Thanks again so much for joining me, and we will see you then. Bye.